Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and these are the AirPods. They've been out for a couple years now, and I've used them at least 3 or 4 times every week in listening to music, phone calls, and a few other things. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And I wanted to talk about how they've held up and how the battery is over those couple of years. Now, I don't know if you can see the case. The case is pretty heavily scratched. It reminds me of the iPod Nanos that scratch pretty easily, and that's just kind of what happens with white polycarbonate plastic. Now, the inside is pretty nice and clean for the most part. Some of these I've seen are really dirty, but it is stained on the outside, and I can't get that stain out. I don't know what it is. These normally just sit in my backpack, and maybe it's just some dye from the color of the backpack. I don't really know, but you can't get this color off no matter what I do. Now let's open this up and take a look at the AirPods as well. And you'll see that the case itself is pretty clean. I do clean it from time to time, so I definitely recommend doing that. And then the AirPods themselves, you definitely need to clean these as well. They've held up well. I haven't had any separation from a swelling battery or anything like that. And the AirPods themselves have held up pretty well. I do clean this out from time to time, and I usually use the SIM card removal tool to do that. It seems to be a good way to clean that, and then just kind of blow on it with some compressed air. But they've held up well as far as being durable. I still find them pretty comfortable and super convenient. Now, normally when I'm using these, I'm using them listening to music. I don't make a whole lot of phone calls, or the thing I use them the most with is the Apple TV. And if you're not familiar with that and you have an Apple TV, you can go into the sound settings and pair these and just use them. So if maybe you're listening to either music on the Apple TV, or you want to watch a movie and the house needs to be quiet, maybe you have people sleeping, this is a great way to do that. So I use that all the time. And I noticed about a few months back that I wasn't really getting that much life out of them. So I thought I'd do a test. And I ran that test last night. And I started at 9 p.m. And they were at 98% at 9 p.m. Now, I was using them with my iPhone, just listening to music. And at 98%, they were fine. And then 9:25, so 25 minutes later, they were down to 75%. And then at 11 p.m., 2 hours later, they were down to 17%. And then I got that low battery noise at 11:13, and then they finally just completely disconnected from my iPhone at 11:36. So 2 hours and 36 minutes later, they were completely dead. Now, when they were new, Apple says they're good for about 5 hours of music, and I found that to be true, but they definitely don't last anymore. They do say if you're using them for phone calls, using the microphone as well, you'll only get about 2 hours. But I find most of the time using music, I only get a couple hours out of them now, and I can get through a movie, and that's about it. Now, the case itself will still hold about 3 charges or so, maybe 4, but most of the time about 3. It will charge the AirPods up, and there shouldn't be an issue there. But I do have some issues with them, and this is something I noticed again a few months back, and I don't know if it's because of the battery degrading or not, but when they're connected to anything else, they work fine. But when I connect them to my MacBook, they disconnect all the time. Now, I have some Beats Solo that I've used as well, and those seem to work fine with my MacBook. It's just these. So when I'm using these connected directly to my MacBook that's only a couple feet that way, they just disconnect. And they'll disconnect, reconnect, and they stutter a lot, and it's difficult to use them because if you're listening to music, it just breaks up all the time. There's some interference or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. But if I use them with my iPhone or my Apple TV or iPad, I have no problems whatsoever. So I'm not sure what that's about. Now, my suggestion to Apple would be if they do come out with AirPods 2, make them sound a little bit better. And also just make the bottom screw off and put the battery in here so that after a few years we can buy some new batteries and not have to throw these away. And lately that's kind of anti what Apple's doing. Mostly their products are not as serviceable except for the iPhone. But I'd love to see these serviceable. Just screw off the bottom, put a nice little chrome ring here. They screw off, replace batteries, and screw them back on, and you've got some extra batteries with you. Or maybe they could just make a little slot where they fit in here, and you can pull those extra extended batteries out. That would be something I'd definitely welcome. But other than that, with AirPods 2, maybe some other colors to match the different phones, and a longer battery life would be welcome, maybe 8 hours or 10 hours. They don't get through a normal working day. But let me know your experience in the comments below. If you have AirPods, do you still think they're worth buying? I definitely think they are. I just would like them to last longer than a couple years. But I guess Apple wants you to buy a new pair every year or two, like their iPhones. I'm not really sure. But I really do like them, and I use them often. But let me know your experience in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.